That feels heavy. That's a decent laker. Oh my God, that is crazy. I missed him the first time, and I did not think it was a big one, and how it just absolutely smoked it. This feels like a really nice one, guys. If I didn't see this on LiveScope, I'd say I'm hooked on bottom right now. Oh man, that feels giant. I've barely moved this fish. This is the most exciting lake trout fishing I've ever done.
The Fishin' Canada Show, brought to you in part by Yozuri Fishing Lures, fish the best. Mercury Outboards, go boldly. And Outdoor Canada, Canada's only national fishing and hunting magazine.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fishin' Canada Show. And believe me when I tell you, it's going to be a dandy.
Although you may be hearing our voices, Ange and I are not the ones on the front of the boat this week. Taking you on this adventure to Lake Ababaca is our newest host, Dean Taylor.
Those familiar with our podcast, Outdoor Journal Radio, will be no stranger to Dean. But to those who only follow us on TV, this episode is going to be his official introduction. Although Dean is an experienced angler, his time on camera has been pretty limited up to this point. Today, we'll see just what he's made of. We're giving him the full Fishin' Canada treatment, alone on the deck of the Princecraft, armed with nothing but fishing gear, electronics, and a lake full of potential.
Now, it may look like we're throwing Dean to the wolves in terms of not having a co-host. However, we're not exactly hanging him out to dry. For today's episode, Dean is heading to Lake Ababaca in the near north of Ontario. This lake has become known for its great numbers of smallmouth, but a recent reopening of his lake trout fishery is what we have Dean out to investigate. After being overfished primarily by ice anglers, the Lake Ababaca lake trout population has made a spectacular recovery in its over 20-year closure. So much so that in 2020, the MNRF reopened the season. Today, Dean is going to hopefully see the results of that effort.
To do this, Dean's going to be using a technique we discovered on Lake Temagami earlier this season that produced some incredible results. Using 2 LiveScope units at the front of the boat, Dean's going to be cherry-picking lake trout as they cruise the depths. The question will be, was Temagami just a one-of? Let's see what you're made of, buddy.
Hi everyone, Dean Taylor here. Let me just say that getting the handoff from 2 Canadian fishing legends on a show I grew up watching is surreal to say the least. However, these emotions are going to have to wait until later. Right now, I have 2 days to put enough fish in the boat for an episode of the Fishin' Canada Show. It's time to get to work. That feels heavy. It's not a lake trout, it's right below the boat when I was coming up with this bait here. Like right underneath the boat, like a couple feet down. Oh, it's a smallmouth. It's a big smallmouth. Grab the smaller net here. I'm glad we left this out here. Nice. That is a nice surprise when lake trout fishing. That is not what you expect. There we go. So we're in like almost 70 feet of water here, and I'm fishing for lake trout, obviously, but so we're marking these fish like 20 feet down, and it's pretty obvious they're not lake trout, but I think they're all big smallies like that. I don't know if you can call it a pattern yet, but there's some big ones out here, and they're super active. Like I said, I don't know if we'll make a pattern of that, but if I'm marking them up here, we might take some time and keep on that. That's pretty cool. I've never had that happen before, went out for lake trout. He chased from like 80 feet down. I'm thinking this is a laker. I haven't been the best at guessing, but I'm gonna milk this one just in case. Oh yeah, it's a laker. Oh, it's a pretty laker. You can see all the bubbles around it burping its way up. That is so cool. And the reason I can't always tell what these are is because there's smallmouth all over the place, and I'm fishing a bait that would traditionally be used for smallmouth. Let me get this guy in a net. That's a beautiful one. And that's been on the smaller side, actually, of what we've been out here after and what most people are saying they're getting. But what's cool about these is lake trout in this lake, we're at Lake Obabaca. Lake trout have actually been closed for like 20 years now. And they just opened about 3 years ago. And this place is absolutely loaded now. It's a pretty cool success story. Because fish like that, I mean, that being on the smaller side, that's a pretty fish. You can see on top of the head, it almost looks like a brook trout. They are super pretty. Get her back. This one's for sure a laker. We caught this in 80 feet. If this is a smallie, I'd be really surprised. I'm gonna milk this one for a little bit. I don't think it's huge, but because we caught it in such deep water, I'm gonna let this thing kind of ease its way up. You can kind of tell they're a little bit smaller when you feel the spin. They're kind of like pike, like I said, in that way. But the whole way up, they're just doing like a barrel roll. A lot of times too, you start to see when they burp down there, you see the bubbles start to come up. I think this thing is still probably 20 feet down. I'm gonna let it sit here for a minute just to get kind of acclimatized, and then we'll get them in the net. Well, that's a decent laker. A little brighter too. I think these are the females that aren't quite as colored up. A little paler, but they're cool fish. There we go. You hear that? That's the burping I'm talking about. Look at this thing, it's got half a tail. I've never seen anything like that. I'm surprised it could even swim up and get this bait. I'm gonna get this thing back quick. It's been through enough, I think. And right away, when they burp like that, they swim away super easy. I'll show you the bait we're using here though. So that's the one I was using. Again, it's traditionally a bass bait, but you can see the lead strip there, the lead on the treble hooks there. That's the color I was using for the last hour or so, trying to figure these out. And then I just made a tiny little switch, same bait, exact same everything, just changing the color of the top here. And that made all the difference. And I think that's gonna be the pattern here. I'm not switching back now. That's the bait of the day, I think.
So far, the cherry picking for lake trout has been working, but I'm beginning to run into a few of the same problems that Ange and Pete had a few weeks earlier.
Oh, yeah, I'd lost him. You see him so swim away. That's devastating to watch him go. I'm gonna try again, but he's swimming directly in front of the boat now.
Sometimes, lake trout are extremely hesitant to fully commit, even on the best of days, leading to a lot of cat and mouse and missed fish until you get the cadence they're looking for just right.
Oh. I missed him. Oh, he's not.
Oh my God. That is crazy. I missed him the first time, and I did not think it was a big one, and how it just absolutely smoked it and probably peeled half my spool off my reel, or half my line off. This has got, man, I haven't even seen it on the live scope. This feels like one of the bigger ones we've seen off this spot, which is saying a lot. This feels like a really nice one, guys. Like, I can barely move this thing. And it hit maybe 20 feet below the boat, just something you're not expecting when you're fishing for lake trout. In August, it's like middle of the day, like the time you'd normally, head in and have a lunch or something, because it's just a waste. And this is anything but. This has been absolutely crazy this afternoon. I can't even move this thing. Probably still 20 feet down. I'm gonna take my time with it like I have been with all these, because again, it is pretty hot water. They're coming from, the surface temperature here is probably like 72, but down where they're at, it's much cooler than that. So that puts a lot of stress on these fish. Here we go. That's a good laker. Oh, I got him. No, I got him hooked by the tail. That's why it feels so big. It is a good one, but that's not how you want to hook them. That's not how they teach you. That's still a nice fish. We'll get this guy back as quick as we can, because that was a pretty mean way to bring him in. That's the one that peeled half the line off my rod. It's crazy how strong they are when you don't hook them properly. It's a fun way to bring them in, but that is not how they teach it. He came in and missed it. They're all coming in so hard and missing. And, we're probably hooking up with maybe, honestly, I'm losing probably 25% of the ones I'm hooking, because they're coming in so aggressive. I'm playing these things out. I mean, I didn't have a choice on that one. But I'm trying to play all these out because, again, it is hot out. It's the middle of the day. It couldn't be a hotter time of the day. This is normally when we wouldn't be out here, but I'm glad we are, and let's get one back in the water. It's hard to tell with these things how big they are. I think this is a smaller laker. It came right off bottom. For some reason, it seems today like the bigger ones and the more active ones are suspended like 40 feet off bottom, which is kind of the opposite of what you normally get with lake trout. Yeah, this is just a little guy. You can hear the burping even on these small ones. Oh, right off. Nice. You can kind of tell, find it kind of cool with the young ones. Their heads are like a completely different shape, and the eyeballs are huge compared to the rest of the head. It'll eventually be a nice one, but that's not what we're after today, but it's cool to get them. Another shallow one, there's been a weird kind of thing here where it seems like two have to become active before one hits. Like when you're just working the one, they will not hit until his buddy comes in and hits it first. This is another smaller one. Oh, yeah. Oh, he smoked it. I watched this thing come in. We have the range on this LiveScope set out to about 110 feet straight that way. And this thing came all the way across. So this thing I caught, I hooked this thing in about 80 feet of water. So I'm gonna take my time like I have been all day. This one doesn't feel huge. We may actually have to move off this spot a little bit and try to come up with a big fish pattern because these are cookie cutter kind of eater fish. And you can see the water coming up. I don't know if you can see all the bubbles coming up here. This is what we're talking about with the burping. Essentially, it's adjusting to the pressure because the pressure from the 80 feet where I hooked this thing and where it is now at the top here is massive, and there's a temperature change. So I'm trying to give these things the best shot we can to release them. There you go. This is just a little guy. But they're all falling off in the net. They're being nice today. Incredibly hard to hold on to, but they're such pretty fish. Super cool looking fish. Some people call these ugly, and I have no idea how. I don't know how people don't love lake trout. Super cool.
This is a lot of fun, but it's not going to cut it. I need to find one or two big fish, or the boys are going to have second thoughts about sending me on another hosting gig. One thing I've learned from Ange and Pete, you have to be willing to leave fish to find fish. It's time to take the gamble.
I think that's a good one. He's peel and drag. I've been watching this one for probably 5 minutes now, trying to get him to go. And this was the most lethargic one we've seen all day. Most of them are like sprinting up. This thing just slowly cruised over. And honestly, I felt him hit way before I even saw him close. It was kind of weird. But I think this is a good one. We've changed locations here a little bit, but the pattern's still the same. We're cherry picking these bigger marks out in like 65 feet of water. Because these big ones are supposed to, apparently, what we've noticed is they seem to like their own space a little bit. The smaller ones are absolutely everywhere in here. Like Obabaca has a crazy population of lake trout, but these big ones seem to like their space. And I'm hoping this is one of them. Really pretty looking fish. Nice. Should be able to hear this one burp too. That's in a little bit of deeper water. There we go. Look at that. That's a nice one. That's probably like a little bit above average, but there's a ton of these here. And that's another half a tail. This is the same thing. There's no way that's part of some stocking program. This one back here at the top is called an adipose. That's normally what they cut if they're stocked. You can hear it burping there. That's just bizarre that we've caught two fish on this trip with the same broken tail. Really weird. She's been through a lot, so we'll get her back. There we go. And this is an area, again, that most people would never stop. I mean, traditional sonar guys know, but but the LiveScope is just opening up so much water. I mean, this would be dead water for most people, and it could not be more alive. This is truly incredible. We're gonna get back down there, but I'm telling you, we're 5 hours from Toronto. It's like the middle of the day. If there was a Leaf game in town, we could make it. Like, we are not far from Toronto. This is the near north. I mean, anybody who is interested in big fish like that, you don't have to go to the Yukon. You don't have to go to BC. They're right here just north of Toronto.
Today's hotspot is one of the areas where Dean tore up the lake trout in his debut solo episode. The waypoint on your screen will get you right there. This outing was all about keeping an eye on his electronics, and once spotting a fish on LiveScope, dropping down and hoping that the fish would react. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. On this day, they did, in a big way. The fish were ultra aggressive. Customizing the Yo-Zuri 1-knock lipless crankbait by adding some weight to the hook shafts and belly, Dean was able to drop the lure significantly faster towards the fish, a crucial point to keep in mind with finicky lakers. Spinning gear makes the process a whole lot easier. For more hotspots like this one, check out fishingcanada.com.
That feels like a better one. Straight under the boat, but right on bottom. And this thing looked big on LiveScope. We've been watching them all day. This thing feels really nice. Really nice. Oh, man. If I didn't see this on LiveScope, I'd say I'm hooked on bottom right now. Like that, I cannot, oh man. I was actually convinced there for a second. I might have got wrapped around a log. That feels giant. If you can see on LiveScope there, he's pretty much stuck there at 40 feet. I'm still gonna be nice to the, even though I wanna get a look at him, I'm gonna slowly ease him up because we're still in relatively deep water here. We were fishing at about 80, now we're in like 64. But I don't know if you can see behind me here, but it is just pinned at 40 feet, not moving. Whew. This is the most exciting lake trout fishing I've ever done. I've never had fish this active, this many fish. I mean, they closed this thing for 20 years. It's only been open for 3 now. And we are, oh man. This is the heyday of Lake Obabuka lake trout. Like, this is the good old days right now. Man, I'm like shaking. I've barely moved this fish. I'm trying to get a look at just how far up he is. But he's in no hurry to come to the boat. I can't wait to see this thing. I think it's giving me a little bit of room now. And these are all on baits that are traditionally for bass. Like, it is so cool to see these things hit Yo-Zuri bass baits. I don't even know if we can call them bass baits anymore, to be honest. We've put so many lake trout in the boat on these now. There we go. That's a heavy fish. I might be able to give you guys a look at this thing soon. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Easy, girl. Yeah, that's a good one. I can see a flash of white. That's a nice lake trout. I got it. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's as big. That's every bit as big as it looked on LiveScope. I mean, we've been calling this technique cherry picking, and we are now cherry picking for big ones, and that is what this is. Oh, easy, girl. She's still got a lot of energy. Man, that's a beautiful fish. Look how fat this thing is. I'm shaking. We've been, catching really nice lake trout all day, but nothing massive. This is beyond expectations. This is a Lake Obabuka lake trout. I mean, that's conservation at work. These things have been closed for so long. And to see them open now and to see so many of these things in here now, it's truly incredible. I'm shaking. That was a workout. That's amazing. gonna get her back. Oh, thank you. There she goes. Oh, that is so cool.
On today's episode, Dean encountered some of the common problems when trying to hook into deepwater lakers. It's all about bait speed, size, and cadence. The big takeaway, though, is when lake trout numbers are high, like they are on Lake Obabaca, finding big fish requires a lot of zigging and zagging. Trust me, it takes some strong willpower to move off of okay fish to go find big TV fish. You did real good, kid. 20 or 30 more years and you just might get the hang of this.
Getting there. Brought to you by the Outdoor Journal Radio Podcast Network.
To get to Dean's outstanding lake trout fishing, he first drove north on Highway 400 until he reached the city of Barrie. He went north on Highway 11 and then west on Highway 17 to the town of Sturgeon Falls. He next headed north onto 64, then onto 539 north, and finally took 805 north to his ultimate destination, Lake Obabaca Lodge. Set on the south end of Lake Obabaca, this fishing and hunting lodge is a perfect getaway for those who don't have the time to invest in a 20-hour drive to the far reaches of the north. At only a 5 to 6 hour drive from the GTA, Lake Obabaca Lodge is a fishing destination that you can drive to in the morning and be fishing that same afternoon. Lake Obabaca is located in Region 13A, which is considered northeastern Ontario. This excellent fishing lake sits in close proximity to such greats as Lake Temagami, Lady Evelyn Lake, and Lake Temiskaming, all of which help rank the province of Ontario as one of the top fishing destinations in the world. Lake Obabaca Lodge has a gorgeous main lodge dining area, an enclosed veranda, and a spacious outdoor deck with fire pit overlooking the beautiful Lake Obabaca. It's a fantastic place to both start and end your day.
Fishin' Canada Show, brought to you in part by Princecraft Boats, the spirit of boating. Garmin, tell a new fish story. The Outdoor Journal Radio Podcast Network, every pursuit, every platform, every day. And Ontario, Canada, in partnership with Destination Ontario.
Closed captioning for this episode is brought to you by fishingcanada.com, the gateway to your next fishing adventure.
Come along to our cabin in the wild, 'cause we're in for some good fishing. Feeling easy, feeling free. Yes, we're in for some good fishing, Canada. Come on, leave your worries far behind where they belong, 'cause we're in for some good fishing. Yeah, they just bite now.